Hey, Iron Pigs fans, Mike Ventola with you. I'm very happy to have former Iron Pig Rich Thompson with us. And Rich, first and foremost, thank you so much for joining me. And secondly, how are you and your family doing throughout this crazy time?
Oh, we're doing really well, actually. We're in sunny Florida, which has been nice, and fortunately, we're all healthy, happy, and we're all currently employed as well. So we have a lot to be thankful for.
Iron Pigs fans, they remember so much about what you did what you did on the field, but kind of taking things here in present day. What are you doing for work? What have you been doing since your playing days?
Yeah, so 2013 was my last year. I was traded, obviously, from the Pigs to the Rays, and I broke my foot pretty badly, and that was kind of the end of my career. So I went from the baseball field to public accounting. I worked for KPMG for a couple of years as an auditor, and then after that, I've been in insurance for the past 5 years. So I work with mid-market companies with insurance and health insurance and all that type of stuff. Not quite as fun as playing on the baseball field, but it's given a nice life to my family and I, and certainly a lot less travel.
Right? And I know, being stuck at home right now with your wife and with your kids, have you been able to keep in touch with other family, whether it's through Zoom calls or have you ever been able to see anybody at least in the standard guidelines of 6 feet or more throughout this
Yeah.
entire process?
Yeah, we've been taking the social distancing pretty seriously. My in-laws live very close to me, and so they were kind of in our circle. But besides that, we really didn't venture out a whole lot. I'd say in the past, week or 10 days, we've been outside a little bit more, and still try not to get in any large groups and confined quarters certainly. But we're just again, we're fortunate enough to be healthy, but we did a Zoom call with my niece over in San Francisco, which really is the only way I'm going to see them anyway for her birthday. But it's been good, and FaceTime obviously is a lot of kids to see their grandparents and our parents as well.
Which is great. So the beauty of technology, being able to do all
Yeah.
these Zoom calls, things of that nature. But you know, um, take it back to your Iron Pigs days, and you were an Iron Pig for a number of years. When you signed with the Phillies back in 2008, and playing through the 2012 season, as you kind of alluded to a little bit earlier. When you think back to the moment when you first signed with the Phillies, and you knew you were reporting to the Iron Pigs, and especially to hearing that built this brand new stadium. They were no longer in Winnipeg. They were in up in Canada for a bit, and of course up in Scranton, Wilkes-Barre. What did you hear about everything concerning Lehigh Valley when you first signed?
Well, I'm familiar with Allentown a bit just from driving through it from north of Scranton down to my grandparents in Philadelphia, but um, I knew it would be a great location as far as my family and everything goes. Unfortunately, as I signed in, they were in quite a tailspin, not off to the start that anybody had hoped. So we ended up, I think, playing out the rest of the year, probably pretty close to 500, but just with the initial start to the season, it didn't look that pretty. So it was really exciting. I think if we were to have that kind of season, even now it would. But I think there was still so much fanfare and excitement around having a team that really kind of bridged the gap a little bit for the results that were on the field. And certainly after that first year, we put a pretty competitive product out there and made it to the playoffs, and there were a lot of great memories.
Certainly as well too. And guys that you played with in 2008, I'm sure that you may still keep in touch with here and there a little bit. Has there been a teammate that when you first signed with the Phillies that you didn't really get it? You're meeting some new faces, maybe you're seeing some familiar faces from prior stops, but there's someone that you really met for the first time that you still keep in touch with to this day that you've gotten really close with.
I would say the person, there's a lot of great teammates. So certainly by leaving anybody out is not a slight by any means. I just enjoyed, meeting all the new people that, come in contact with. I would say, one person, one of the best guys who's certainly a favorite in Lehigh Valley is Eric Kratz. He came on kind of the second half of my career with the Pigs, but, just, great person, great player, great father and everything, husband. He's just a, pleasure to be around. And I was fortunate enough to take my kids to see him play when he was with the Rays last year, and I also saw him when he was in spring training with the Yankees. But unfortunately, it seems like I played for a while, and the guys that I was playing with, a lot of them have moved on as well. But Chris Truby, I still keep in contact with. I haven't seen Tracy in a while, but I was seeing him in spring training periodically. And Paul Hoover was with us as well, and he's on the Rays staff as well. So, there's all sorts of. Cody Overbeck was my kind of locker mate. But just just a lot of fun guys that you meet along the way that you probably never would have come in contact with if it wasn't for baseball and hours on a bus.
I know, mentioning a lot of those guys, were any of them your roommate at all when you traveled with the Pigs, going from city to city?
I'm trying to think back on who my roommates were. I think Cody might have been, but I honestly am kind of at a loss for who my specific roommates were. We had certainly a lot of guys who played cards in the locker room with, and but I don't remember roommates from year to year. I'm sure they kind of switched around a little bit, so which is probably a good thing because you're only going to remember the bad ones and the ones that snort a lot. So I think whoever I did have is I'd be happy to have again.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Having roommates that snore is never a good time. But anyways, too, like with all the travel, and I know being with the Pigs for such a number of years. Was there ever a place that you enjoyed playing in on the road? Was there whether it was the ballpark or the city itself? Was there what was your favorite place to visit in the International League?
There are a couple different ones. I think the circuit over on the western side was always a lot of fun. Indianapolis was really a big league city that had a minor league team. That was a lot of fun. Louisville was a nice one to go to, and they were only a couple hours apart, so that was always nice. I personally really like going to Rochester, Buffalo for a couple different reasons, having friends in the area. But Rochester had Dinosaur Barbecue within walking distance, so that was always nice to be able to go to. So really, the criteria of a good place is the clubhouse, the hotel, and where you can walk to go eat. So there were plenty of good spots to go to. Durham was fun, but the bus trips started to get pretty long.
Oh yeah, I was about to say, I'm sure you had some moments when you had to do those long bus rides, and there might have been a flight here and there. And my next question was, what was your favorite restaurant to eat on the road? You mentioned Dinosaur Barbecue. Was there a go-to item on the menu, or it was just because of the place? You're like, I can have this one day, I can have this another day.
Yeah.
What was your favorite meal at Dinosaur Barbecue?
I don't think you can go wrong there. I think we mixed it up. Usually there for 2 or 3 nights at a time. So that was always a great spot. And Indianapolis had some good ones too, but nothing quite as unique, I don't think, as Dinosaur Barbecue, which was also in Syracuse, and then there was Anchor Bar up in Buffalo with the Buffalo Wings. So all good spots.
Too, and when you talk about ballparks and fun things that go around, surrounding a ballpark. I know fans want to know, because you played at Coca-Cola Park for such a number of years. Was there a favorite part of the home ballpark that you enjoyed? Whether it was something within the stadium layout, the clubhouse, was it just maybe some of the fun stuff that Kurt and his staff would do on the field that you guys would take notice to? What did you enjoy most about playing at Coca-Cola Park?
I mean, it's definitely the fans. Not only were they just great people that I was fortunate enough to get to know over 5 years, but it's also, just such a nice playing surface, the whole environment. I mean, it really feels like you're, kind of on a stage. I mean, it's a nice place to play baseball, and it's always nice to have the, fans behind you. So that part was great. I mean, there was still come back, meet the ushers and, see them who've, seen my kids grow up, which is always very nice. And there's those nuts when you come in that, the completely candied and sugared and taste delicious. And, when I was there, there were, I think, a couple sisters that were running it, and they would always, be generous with myself and the kids, and we'd end up getting them in the clubhouse too. So it's really great there.
Now I know too, like fans, they reach out to players, whether it's whether players they look up to, players that they've had a special connection with. I'm sure you still hear from some of our fans from time to time, and knowing that they still find their ways to keep in touch with you, do you kind of look back and sit there and say, what, as much as, I've played in some different spots. I was there for 5 years. That you yourself made an impact, not only as a player, but even within the community in Lehigh Valley.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, there's the whole crew out in right field, which is always super positive. Jimmy T was always, good to see. I have, great friends with Coca-Cola, with the breaks. I mean, they've just, really made what can be the hardest part of minor league baseball, which is to travel and being in a different city. So welcoming. There's another friend is the Brogles that are in town, and people that I still continue to stay in touch with. And then there's just the people when I come back and I'm on the concourse, and usually Kurt makes an announcement or something, and people will come up to us. And oftentimes I recognize the parents, but when kids are now potentially 15 years older than when I first met them, I mean, they're getting close to the age I was when I started playing professional baseball compared to like 8 years old when they were in my camps. So really fun to see them. And again, people maybe spend the summer at the shore or do other kind of cool stuff like that. And for us, it was, 5 years of spending the summer in Lehigh Valley, and really some great memories. My youngest son was born there.
Which is awesome too. And, and a couple of things that I know when I was telling some people that I was going to be speaking with you today, and there were a couple of things that they said, Mike, can you ask Rich about this? I said, absolutely. One was, your first 3 years, you play under a very well-respected guy who managed for a number of years in Dave Huppert, a guy who's been a baseball lifer. And then come 2011, Ryan Sandberg comes in, and most people know about Ryan Sandberg's credentials, and and I'm sure for you and for many that played, that were going to play for Ryan, especially if you guys knew where your assignments were and you're getting a chance to work and deal with him in spring training. What was your initial reaction when meeting with him and knowing what type of manager he was going to be with you guys for that first year?
No, it was great, meeting Ryan, and Dave Hupp was great too. Being the first manager that I played for with Lehigh Valley, and just, obviously we came in and we were off to a slow start, and he's like, look, nobody's looking for you to, change anything and, get us over 500. And I was like, well, good, because I don't think I could help this that quickly. But, so certainly he was always very welcoming, and he certainly appreciated effort, and I was always willing to give that. Now, Ryan, I mean, he's just, childhood hero of mine, really. I grew up with a big Rhino poster on my wall. So the fact that he ended up being a manager was pretty cool. And, just getting to know him and Margaret, his wife, they were great. They were really advocates for us as players, which was nice. And, he, again, was the same way. He was, although being more talented than, most players that have ever even played the game, he was also very much a grinder and a hustler when he played, and expected that and appreciated that out of his players as well.
And too, because I remember that season I was an intern with Matt Province and John Schaefer at the time, and I can remember too, like, getting the opportunity to, meet you and meet a lot of the guys in the clubhouse, and it seemed like there were guys that had a lot of pedigree, whether it be longer, careers in the minors, some guys with a lot of major league experience, and you seem to have a little bit of maybe some of an older clubhouse feel, and it seemed like Rhino just allows you guys to go about your business, and it worked so well because you make the playoffs, and then you end up getting to the Governor's Cup Finals against Columbus. When you think about from the time that you guys clinched in the regular season, getting a postseason spot, to that first round series. I believe it was with Pawtucket. At that point, the minors are always about development, but you got a chance to win here. Do you think back to that 2011 season as one of the more enjoyable seasons you had as an Iron Pig?
Absolutely. I mean, even if you have a good individual season, just winning day in and day out, it makes things a lot more fun. And Ryan didn't have a ton of rules. You're not going to win championships on rules, but it was more of a culture. We had a really good mix that year. It's difficult in AAA to put together a championship roster, and what that really, in my opinion, entails. You have to have that veteran leadership certainly helps in some of that talent, but you also need to have those up and coming stars, really, the guys that are going to be with you for potentially only half the season, and maybe they start with you and end up matriculating up to the big leagues, or maybe they start in the big leagues and come down, or maybe they even get called up at halfway through the season and finish out the year with you. And I think we had both sides of that, because there are not dominant rounds, and I can't necessarily remember that all the big league guys that came off of that roster, but we had some real impact players, particularly even in the pitching side. You can't sign them as free agents and stick them in AAA. So we had that homegrown talent paired with some good veterans who knew how to play the game, but certainly weren't the talent that some of the young guys were.
Too, and I know you guys, fall a little bit short, and still, talk to, Iron Pigs folks, from that have been around since 2008 to even this, the past completed season of 2019. Iron Pigs fans, I still say it to this day, 2011 was without question the most memorable season of Iron Pigs baseball, because you guys, got to the Governor's Cup Finals and, faced a pretty good Columbus team. And, but with that as well, too, and I know talking with you, you're more about it being the team than when it's the individual. But knowing too that your name is still on a bunch of records, and knowing that your name is in Iron Pigs history and in Iron Pigs lore. What does that mean to you, knowing that a lot of the impacts, a lot of the things that you were able to accomplish on the field are still sitting strong in the Iron Pigs record books today?
No, I'm certainly very proud of that. So, some of it's just about longevity, which is difficult in AAA. It's kind of, you have to be in that middle ground of being good enough, but not quite good enough, or at least not needed at the time. So, certainly some single season records were great. And, I take a lot of pride in the fact that I was able to do that year in and year out. And I'm also grateful for the opportunity to have done that, because, once you get into your 30s, it's not always an easy time, especially with the amount of big league experience I had to be able to, keep getting that contract and keep playing every day. So, certainly only have the fondest memories, and feel very fortunate that I was able to spend that time in the Valley.
And spending that time in the Valley, was a great 5 years for you. And then you talked about earlier in this interview how, the business side comes into play. You get traded to Tampa Bay, and you end up becoming a part of the Rays organization, and you get some time up at the major league level, with your time with Tampa Bay, and knowing that as much as you look fondly back at those years in Lehigh Valley, knowing that you were able to end your career, spending some time up in the major leagues and spending some time with a different organization, was it kind of satisfying in a way that all that hard work you were able to put in, maybe even in Lehigh Valley, some of the earlier spots, that you were rewarded for it with some time with Tampa Bay?
Just a great experience. I think, my quick trip to the big leagues with the Royals back in 2004 certainly made it a little bit easier to sleep at night. Going forward, you're not wondering if you'll ever make it again. But I didn't have a hit, and I didn't, get to do any of the, I didn't play a whole lot. Going over the Rays was a really awesome experience, playing for, kind of a legendary manager as well, with Joe Madden, who's just all about making people feel comfortable. And when you're comfortable, you play your best. He was awesome. And just a young, fun clubhouse, David Price and Longoria. I mean, there's just a whole bunch of guys over there that were fantastic talents and really great teammates. I got my first hit over there, so that was pretty awesome. And looking at my line, I only had 20-some at bats and only had a couple hits. But I've certainly been worse than that through streaks, even in the minor leagues. But to have that opportunity and to play, the cool thing about my trip to the big leagues then was that I was that 24th, 25th guy, but you still got to contribute because I was a speed guy. So we're in a playoff hunt. We didn't end up making it, but come September, it's a tie ball game, 1-run ball game. I'm going in and told to steal second base, steal third base. So I get to play in those, high leverage situations, which, there's a lot of people who haven't had that opportunity, even who played in the big leagues. So it was pretty cool that my skill set fit in well with, the team that was trying to make that push for the playoffs.
Mentioned you were a speed guy, so I got to ask you, maybe the hardest question to ask you. I'm sure at some point someone went up to you and said, Rich, let's race. Was there one guy that you ran up against that, whether it was, on the bases, whatever, just having fun? Was there one guy that you made, I thought I was fast, but this guy, he's even faster than me? Is there anybody that comes to mind in that regard?
No, not honestly. I was pretty fast. So, I'm sure that there were guys out there that, could probably get me by a step, particularly later in my career. But if anything, whether it was just from getting better at, reading pitchers and picking my spots, I don't remember which exactly was my last year, but, I still had 40 or 50 stolen bases somewhere kind of towards the end there. And so, I think there's certainly some guys that would get me in like that 60-yard range, but those short, 90 feet, I was pretty quick all the way through there.
Well, Rich, I know when the Iron Pigs celebrated their 10th anniversary team, you were named as the center fielder of that 10th anniversary team, and deservedly so because of what you were able to do throughout your 5-year career with the Iron Pigs. But hopefully, as well, too, folks continue to, think back to what you were able to do throughout your time as a pig, and throughout you continue to celebrate what was a very good career for you. But I do want to thank you so much for joining me. It was a blast getting a chance to catch up with you and, give Iron Pigs fans an opportunity to revisit with you. And before I let you go, there's a message you can give out to fans, or, whether it's the Iron Pigs fans or anybody watching, what would that message be? Especially maybe young kids that would want to, pursue a career in professional baseball.
Well, first and foremost, I just, want everybody to know that I'm thinking about them from, the health and safety and, just all the things that are weighing on people right now. I know it's a difficult time for a lot of families and individuals. And so, really my heart goes out to everybody who's being affected and all your loved ones. So that is first and foremost. As far as the kids who, aspire to be professional athletes, that kind of, get there eventually, but it's all about effort and attitude. You just need to keep working, be a good teammate. My career would not have been anywhere near as long if I wasn't, a positive impact in the clubhouse. Those guys, top talent always rises up to the top, but for everybody in the middle, there's a lot of other factors that are equally important. So those are all big things. And then, if anybody's got some, Phillies or Iron Pigs art that they can share with you, it looks like you might need a new backdrop back there. So, you can get working on that as well.
I was going to say, yep, I know I've been getting some flack already because of this stuff behind me. Product of the environment I grew up in, but Kurt's already gotten on me about this. Some other folks that I've talked to, they said, Mike, you got to pick it up here behind. It's nice, but it's the wrong team. So, but
that's all right. There's no current players up there, so I think you're okay.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think some guys up here, though, yeah, they played for the enemy, but well-respected guys in their own right. But Rich, thank you so much for joining me. Like I said, it was great talking with you, and my best to you and your family. And who knows, to be another opportunity like this down the line. So thanks so much for joining.
I'm happy to. I'm always looking for new people to talk to. It's a small world right now.
Certainly is. So thanks, Iron Pigs fans, for joining us. He's Rich Thompson. I'm Mike Ventola. I look forward to talking to you next time.